Hey, it's your friendly podcaster, BJ of Chew on This and Nerds United podcast. And every month we're growing, and it's because of loyal listeners like you guys. So tell your friends to check us out on iTunes or Google Play or YouTube. We would love to have your reviews and comments, and you can also subscribe to our Facebook page for content. Plus, you can check out our Twitter and our Instagram at Chew on This Pod. And you can even send us an email if you want to at chewonthispodcast@gmail.com. So we'd love to hear from you and enjoy this week's episode of Chew on This. Welcome to episode 54 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
So recently, I went back and watched the all 8 Harry Potter movies, just to kind of get excited and get stoked for this latest movie, which is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And I will admit, the first trailer I saw like a year ago um, didn't really excite me all that much. And I think you watched the trailer too, and you're like, I don't care for this movie right now.
Yeah, it was really different, and I don't know. I guess I was just the Harry Potter stuff, and so I really didn't have any interest in it at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you said if you go back and listen to our most anticipated movies of the year, that one was on my list. I want to say it was number 8 or something like that. It's in the top 10, but or bottom half of the top 10. But yeah, I think I was more excited about it. But when it got closer and the real trailer hit, that's when I really got excited. I was like, okay, this looks like Harry Potter World. So uh, that kind of made me happy. And it also made me happy learning that she wrote the script. J.K. Rowling wrote it. And then they decided, I mean, before this one even came out, they're going to do a sequel. And then, like, a few days ago, she announced that she's like, we're going to make 5 movies out of this thing. Um, and we'll talk a little bit about the controversy that surrounds, like, the last thing that hit right before the movie came out. So we'll go into some spoiler territories, but before we do that, you want to get the boring stuff out of the way?
Okay, yeah. So right on Rotten Tomatoes, it's sitting at 76%. So
Ouch.
one of the lower Harry Potter movies. I think one or two maybe hit below 80% of the 8 movies that we got.
That's
7 or 8
possible.
movies. But so really good track record. This is on the lower end. Because of when we're recording, it's a guesstimate, but it's looking like it's going to go anywhere from 75 to 90 million. It pulled in 29 million on Friday, so not
So
great, not
not great.
great.
Not for that
Uh,
franchise, no.
no, I mean, but it's not Harry Potter, So 75 to 90. It's the same thing with Rogue One coming out in a month. It's not going to do like 1 billion the first weekend or whatever the ridiculous amount it was. So
Yeah.
it'll make a lot of money for Rogue One, and this one's still a lot of money, almost making 100 million for a movie. I'm not sure how much it costs. Do you know offhand how much the
I
movie
think it
costs?
was in the upwards of like 180, somewhere on there, 160 to 180.
That's pretty
So
high.
if it's only gonna do 75 or whatever, it's gonna uphill battle. But I think overseas, it'll probably do $1 billion. So,
Well,
um,
I mean, it did have a stellar cast,
mhm.
and um and of course they bring back David Yates to do this. So he finished out the last 3 or 4 movies for Harry Potter.
I think the last 4, for 5, 6, 7, and 8, he did, and then recently he came out with kind of a dud though, the Legend of Tarzan movie
Yeah, I
that
thought
came out.
I
So
might have gone to seen that if it was a higher rating, but the initial
yeah,
Ratings were really poor, which I was surprised since Yates was the director. But anyway, what did you think of the first non-Harry Potter movie that deals in this world?
Okay. Well, I liked some elements about it. I liked that they used the same theme song. Uh, I liked some of the situations they got into, like to capture the beasts. I kind of like that whole almost like treasure map thing. Like I gotta, it was almost video game-ish. Like we got to get all the elements, and then we're done. Then we can escape or whatever. So we had to get all the different beasts, and then that would, the reward is, oh, we're finished, and I get to go home. And so I kind of like that aspect of it. Okay, but there's a whole lot of things I didn't like. Um, it felt like there were three different movies going on here, and it felt very like there was like several subplots, especially the one that really creeped me out, and that was between Colin Farrell and then Ezra Miller,
Oh,
who
right.
between Graves and Credence. I did not like their dynamic. It felt like a priest and an altar boy. Like it felt very uncomfortable through a lot of their scenes. It just I don't know. It, maybe I'm wrong, but I just got this weird vibe off of it.
Yeah,
Um,
I got the same. I got the same one.
yeah, the um, the parts like I really like Dan Fogler. I've liked him before in other stuff, but usually he's really goofy. I think this time, really very charming. I really liked his character. He was kind of the everyday guy, and he got um, caught up in this situation. I thought he was really good. I
I
really
liked.
liked
I liked that they didn't use him
Queenie.
as like.
I liked
Yeah, so did
yeah.
I. I like the fact that they didn't make him like a buffoon. You know, like
Yes.
yeah, he did some clumsy things, but not really clumsy, like because he wasn't used to the world, the wizarding world.
Yeah.
And he gave reactions, and I just like the fact that they didn't make him like the. Yeah, yes, he was the comedic part of the movie, but they didn't do the normal thing where they make him like an utter buffoon, which is sometimes why I didn't like Ron's portrayal in the movies early on, anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, we're kind of like getting off track because we'll dive into the goodies or whatever you want to call it into it. But like my initial reaction is I wanted to love this movie so much, and I ended up kind of walking out of there going, all right, well, that they set up their universe. Hopefully, this will go into some better territory. I just didn't like all the jumbled subplots, and uh, was very predictable. Even the very, very end was very predictable, which was that bummed me out because that would have been a really cool twist. Um, what did you think?
Okay, so I had a feeling talking to you that we would before we started recording that your reaction would be a little bit different than mine. So my
Hmm.
reaction coming out of the movies was, and I didn't read the book or the novel or whatever play whatever this is.
Hmm.
I didn't read it before going in. I basically thought of the book the same way I thought of the movie. I didn't really have high hopes for it because it was outside Harry Potter. The story was done, and then they were dealing with like the least fun class that they would always go to, which is the mystical creatures class or the creatures class. I didn't really like that class, and it was always kind of boring in the books for me. And then to make an entire movie about the part of Harry Potter that I didn't really like, it was the cards were kind of stacked. But I will say,
Yeah.
coming out of the theater, I missed the wonderment that Harry Potter brought to not only the novels but the big screen. And when I got out of this movie, I felt that enjoyment of being in that world again.
Hmm.
That was my first initial thing. There are parts of the movie that drag a little bit, and I think the problem with this movie is, and then this is a nitpick, and it's probably why you don't have the same positive feeling that I do about the movie. It's because it's
Hmm.
basically rehashing, not rehashing. Sorry, that's a terrible word. It's 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 rebooting almost. Like it's in Harry Potter's world, but it's way before Harry Potter even his parents are probably even born, and so it has to like retell people's, like it's an intro basically. It's an intro to
Hmm.
the movie.
Hmm.
But I don't understand. See, so they're going to make 5 movies, and now I'm jumping because I was thinking about this as you were talking about the 5 movies and how the movie ends, and when I read about the from the director today, and
Hmm.
that Newt wasn't going to be basically part of the 5 anymore. Like he was slowly going to be his character would slowly fade out and not be the focal
Hmm.
point of the movie anymore.
That's
And
weird.
I was thinking where they could possibly take this movie because the most interesting part of this movie had nothing to do with the title. Yes, it's the book, and yes, it's the book that he writes to create this story, but the movie really had very little to do with with what was going on. I mean, yeah, he loses all those creatures, but there wasn't like 1 second that I thought that he had anything to do with that, whatever they call that, dark magic thing. Like
Oh yeah.
I had no doubt that he had nothing to do with it. So like when the twist, there was 2 twists in the movies. When the first twist came, spoilers, I when you find out it's Ezra Miller, I was like, okay, that was pretty predictable, but it also revealed the plot that had nothing to do with Newt and his creatures, which I knew from the beginning it had nothing to do with him. So that
Right.
whole suspense was kind of taken away from the very beginning. And I don't know it's because like I'm a smart cinema watcher or movie watcher. I think it was just that it was kind of there that it didn't seem like he had anything to do with it because they never really went after him for
You
causing
don't
all
need a
that trouble.
college. You didn't need a college degree to figure out this at all. Like you knew that Newt had nothing to do with that monster. I think it's called an Austrial or something like that. Creature
Yeah.
that flies, or like basically what it is that if a person suppresses their magical power, it manifests itself into something very dark later on. And usually people that have it don't live past the age of 10. But Credence was an exception. He lived much later. So therefore, all that suppression of that magic that he did created a very unstoppable type entity that would just go on a bender and just start trashing everything. Um, kill and it kills. He'll just go and decide he wants to kill somebody because they wronged him, and he'll just go do it in that that form, that gaseous form, or whatever that thing is. Um, so I don't know about you, but like these movies that have been coming out recently have been driving me crazy because the formulas are exactly the same. They feel like at the end they have to have this grand finale, explosion, crazy, thing like Ghostbusters did, like Independence Day did,
Mm.
and now this movie, even
Yeah,
Force Awakens does it.
you're talking about when like the whole it finally comes out and basically it's this giant cloud. And then again, another movie that we watched that reminds me of Green Lantern. Um,
Yes.
so it's not a good thing when you remind me of a shitty movie of Green Lantern. But yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, okay, this is a huge, FX. Yeah, there's a lot of special effects in this movie, but of course, it's like Deadpool with the fucking giant carrier. Like there was no need to do that. And
No,
this
no
thing
need
goes
at all.
crazy. I mean, it basically destroys all of Manhattan.
Yeah, and all they're doing is apparating, like just popping in and out, trying to get away from it. And and so it was just so like muddled. I didn't care. I was like, this looks like crap. Like I didn't like that at all.
Well, I watched it on
Um,
IMAX, so it was a little bit different for me. And what was interesting about it was that it wasn't in 3D. They purposely did not put it in 3D, which was awesome.
oh
It's
wow.
one of the very few movies that I've seen in IMAX that doesn't have any 3D. So it was great not to have glasses on.
Yeah.
It looked okay for me. I mean, it was like full blown IMAX, not the letterbox IMAX during the end
Hmm.
sequences. Um, but
I don't
but
know.
I agree. I mean, I could figure out what was going on because I was watching it on a 6 foot, like 6 story screen. But it was completely unnecessary, and I was just thinking, try to think back to the ending of the Sorcerer's Stone versus this ending, and
Yeah.
far how far the special effects have come for the Wizarding World, for Harry Potter's
Right.
world, because like he all it was they had the CG the character on the back of that dude's head, but they were just on a set with fire everywhere, and that was it.
Yeah, it was the drama that carried that scene. It wasn't special effects. And it's just this, it's just like lately, like, I'll just throw a bunch of shit on the screen and that'll like get everyone excited and like, oh, but like it didn't do anything. So many other movies do it so much better than that. And
Yeah.
so I was really disappointed. I was like, you got to be kidding me. What, why? And then, okay, we can jump to the reveal, but at the end you find out that Colin Farrell this entire time was Grindelwald, who is the famous wizard that you find out has the Elder Wand, but Dumbledore defeats him and takes the Elder Wand, which at some point we're going to see that,
Right.
apparently. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I could get a little excited about that, but you know the outcome. So they have to figure out a way to make these a little more interesting. I liked all the stuff with the beast. If they just made a movie about him running around, capturing the beast, I would have been happy. But like they added all this other shit in it, and then they did this thing at the end where they showed Johnny Depp, which we can get into that later. That really bothered me because if you look back at like Batman Begins, it's a completely separate movie. He does this thing, and at the very end, all Commissioner Gordon does is flip over this card, and there's a Joker sign on it, and you got fucking excited. So this didn't excite me in the least. I was like, oh, Grindelwald was there the entire time. Like, okay, like whoa, that's a big twist. And then and they card him off, and I was like,
Not a lot of
big
people in
deal.
the theater knew. Like, there was a lot of people because I went to go see it in IMAX, there was a lot of Harry Potter, like, fans and stuff like that, and I guess they either didn't read the book because I didn't read the book, or didn't know, but nobody had any clue in the theater that Johnny Depp was that guy, but I guess I don't read enough news on the thing. But they had
Yeah,
released that, like, a month ago or so that he was going to be the main bad guy, and that pissed off a lot of British people, um so that's kind of funny too to
but
me.
we didn't know he was going to be in this movie,
No, no. Yeah.
except that
We
we're
just
except here's one of the problems that happened here because I figured this out well into the movie is that at the very beginning you see the blonde hair and you see all this destruction he's doing, and the next thing you know, I think a little bit later on you see Colin Farrell from the back and they have the same hairdo, and I was like, oh,
hmm,
that must be Grindelwald. Yeah, I'm like, I told her, I leaned over at my wife and I'm like, I think that's Grindelwald, and she's like, who? I'm like, oh, never mind. So
I didn't figure it out until the second they revealed that Graves is trying to capture this thing and use it for his own good, kind of like in Aliens, they're trying to capture the aliens all
well,
the time. I figured that he was
well,
that guy.
I thought since the haircut, but then the second thing that really, like, I was like ding 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 was that he gave Credence a necklace, and if you looked at the
Right. It had
necklace
the Deathly
very
Hollows.
quickly, it was the Deathly Hollow symbol. Yeah, so I was like, oh, it's got to be Grindelwald. Why would he give him that? Because he's like firmly him and Dumbledore when they were younger, they were chasing after the Hollows
Right.
essentially. And then Dumbledore was the one that kind of said, I think having all that power would be a bad idea. So he separated all this stuff. Like James Potter got kept, well, it was in his family anyway, kept the invisible cloak. And then I think Dumbledore had the other two. He had the Elder Wand and the stone. Well, eventually he got, yeah, he had the stone. He put it in the snitch. So he had two out of the three. But I don't know. Um, So, what'd you think about Eddie Redmayne anyway? Get into the cast.
Um, I had seen a little bit of that movie he was nominated for, where he played the man that was trying. He was like the first sex change patient. What was the name of that
Oh
movie?
gosh, I haven't seen that. I saw the one where he played Stephen Hawking, and he's
Okay.
incredible.
I didn't see that one. I saw like the last hour of the movie that I was just talking about. But anyway, he kind of has the same. I've only seen him in two movies now. He
Hmm.
kind of has this like shyness about him that's almost like annoying. Um, but he's really good at acting. It's kind of I'm having a hard time describing his style because I like him. I liked him in both movies, But when he does that thing where he is kind of standing sideways to the camera and he's looking up through his hair or through his eyebrows, do you know what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about? He does
Mm-hmm.
it a lot, and and he did it a lot in the other movie too. So to me, it was kind of annoying, that part of it. Um, and he has this like way of delivering lines where he talks really fast, and kind of trails off and finishes the line, pauses, and then starts back up again, and that's kind of annoying too. Um,
Yeah.
so, but I did like him in it. Oddly enough, I did like him in it when he finally stepped up and realized what he had to do, and spoke up and stopped being that shy, like that
Yeah.
technique that he does when he was defending the beasts. When he, towards the end when he had to stop, what the hell's his name, Credence. So I liked him then. But sometimes, like when you first meet him, he does it for like the first like 30 minutes of the movie, and it's really annoying for me. Anyway, I don't know how many people pick up on it, but it was annoying to me.
This
But
movie.
the cast all around was really good. Everybody in
Mm-hmm.
this movie was really good too. So I do, I guess I find it ironic and funny at the same time, and understandable why the British people don't want Johnny Depp in this movie because he's not really British, which I kind of
Right.
find it funny because it's not like the role was whitewashed. It was he just he just can't he just doesn't naturally have that accent. But
That is funny. Yeah, British are very vocal about their characters, man. They get pissed.
yeah,
Um,
well,
I think they
everybody in
were
that
really.
movie, other than Dan Folger, he they're the only two Americans in that movie basically because everybody,
Yeah,
even the director's British.
yeah. Um, well, Ezra Miller and Dan Fogel and John Voight. There's some pretty big names in
But
this thing. Even they were in it for like a minute.
what's his face? But Johnny Depp, like once again, he's painting his face white, and what is with this guy? Always putting on white makeup and with a British accent. I mean,
I
seriously,
don't know.
he's got like
It's
this
seriously
fetish that
annoying.
he fucking does it all the time. Like
Well, why would they hire?
the only thing that was different was like he didn't have his like freaky black hair or something because he wasn't in a Tim Burton movie.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that casting on. I feel like he's too old too. Like I just feel
He
like
looked pretty freaky, and of course he pulls off the British accent because he fucking does it in every movie he's in. But um, he looked the part to me. To me, he looked the part. But
yeah.
I'm sure they could have got somebody else. Somebody else.
Well, now we're
Jeremy
stuck
Irons
with
would have
him.
been.
So now they need to hire a Dumbledore. So
Yeah, a young Dumbledore.
they got to figure that out. But no, it was good to see Colin Farrell again. He's been kind of just in and out. He was doing a lot of independent
He
films, and
was really good in the movie. Ironically,
yeah,
an Irish.
I
He's
liked
he's
him.
Irish, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
an Irishman playing an English guy. They're okay with, or
But
an
see,
American
I would
guy.
have preferred him as the I would have preferred him as the bad guy.
The reveal at
Um,
the end,
yeah,
like he would have been
yeah, but
Grindelwald. Was that how you say his name?
some something. Yeah, I think him with white hair would have been badass. I think they should have switched it. Maybe Johnny Depp should have been Greaves the whole thing, and then or Graves,
Ooh,
and then Colin
oh
Farrell
yeah,
is
that's a good
Grindelwald.
call. No, that's an actually good call because it makes more sense to me anyway.
Yeah. Um, Catherine Waterston, I hadn't really seen her a lot of stuff, but I thought she was good as Tina, the Auror who was down on her luck. I
Yeah,
kind of
she's pretty
liked
good.
that. Yeah, I liked her.
Queenie, I really liked. She was very unique. She reminded
Very
me
unique.
of. She reminded me. She had a little bit of. Now I'm gonna forget this witch's name. She was in Harry Potter. She was the shy one that could see the dead horses like he could.
Oh, like Luna Lovegood.
Yeah, 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 yeah. She had a little bit of that, so that kind of reminded me. So that kind of brought me
She's
back a little bit.
she totally brought me. I mean, she was like, that's so 1920s. Just everything about her. She looked like she came from that time for sure. I liked Dan Fogler, I've seen him in so many stuff, and usually, like you said, he's like a really over the top goofball, but I think he played it
Yeah.
really, really well. You really enjoyed that character.
The most touching
Um,
part of the movie had to do with him.
oh, which part was
The
that?
the part where he's about to get his memory wiped and he's like they're all sitting there and he's like realizing that he's gonna forget
Heartbreaking.
all. Yeah, that was like the best part of the entire movie. And
Yeah,
if he was like the comedic buffoon throughout the entire movie, I would have not felt the same way in that scene.
yeah, exactly. They played it very, very well. Yeah, that scene was heartbreaking. It was so
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah, that was
Um,
like the best part in the entire movie.
yeah. Um, John Voight, yeah, he's all right. I actually got a story about John Voight. I'll tell you sometime. Um,
Okay.
yeah, no, seriously, I met him.
Uh,
um, so he,
Ron Perlman was pretty good.
yeah, dude, so he's so recognizable. I mean, in
His voice
anything that he
too.
does,
His
yeah.
voice too.
But they actually made that goblin look just like him. Like if he
Yeah.
were shrunk, if they shrunk Ron Perlman and made him into a goblin, that he would have looked just like that.
His
Really well
fingers
done
were
with the.
really creepy.
Ah, he was totally creepy. I love that scene. That this whole movie it totally reminds me of A New Hope. I swear to God, some of the beats and everything. I mean, they go to a
Mm,
cantina. They go,
right.
yeah. I mean, they're captured in the Death Star and then they escape. And or in the Ministry. Like there's so many different elements of A New Hope in this movie. The way it's structured, I was really really noticing that. But J.K. Rowling wrote the entire thing. I don't know if she got help with somebody or whatever, but and she's writing the second one, which I guess got approved before this one came out, so it'll be out in 2 years. So I think every 2 years one of these will pop out. But what are they gonna? I mean, are they are they going to ditch the Fantastic Beasts
Yeah,
title and go to?
that's what I was thinking too when you said that because apparently from now on it's not going to as far as plot goes, it has nothing to do with the beasts anymore. It'll basically have everything to do with, you know, finding or I guess Grindelwald like breaking out or something, you know what I mean? Like he's not going to keep him. How else could you make a sequel?
See, they had me at Fantastic Beasts because this is something we've never seen before. We've never even heard before, so we don't know how it ends or this or that. But we know how Grindelwald ends. We know that story. So again, it's like the whole like Darth Vader thing all over again. It's like I really don't care if he was some little snivelly kid or some like evil crazy person, and it's like I know what happens, so I don't care how that happens. But I cared about Newt's story. I really wanted to know what was going on or what he was doing. And I found it fascinating. He's traveling all around picking up beasts so that he can write a book to teach people about, these to not be scared or freaked out by these, creatures. And I really like that idea. It's like a magic, National Geographic or something,
Right.
and I really dug that. But throwing in all that extra shit with, some creepy gasish thing running around killing people, and you find out it's this altar boy that's being pissed on, his whole life. I, that, I mean, I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand why that plot line needed to be in there. So, I didn't mind, the creepy, religious people, against witchcraft and all that stuff. I thought, oh, that's very like Salem witch trial. I kind of like that. And it wasn't really 1920s wasn't that far off really in the scheme of things where the Salem witch trials ended. So I found all that fascinating, but that other stuff was just over the top for me. I liked all the beast stuff and them trying to capture the beasts and stuff like that. The scene on the ice with the big beast was awesome.
Right.
That was a really cool set piece. I
That
really really
reminded me
thought that
of
was cool.
Peter Jackson's King Kong. The way
Oh,
it
the
was like
creature
spinning
or
around.
the.
Yeah, just the way that it was like spinning around and they were being chased on there. For some reason it just reminded me of King Kong. Mainly because I
Yeah,
guess it was just a giant beast, a CG beast on on that lake or that pond.
yeah. Totally. Well, I mean, that's pretty much the plot in a nutshell. Just Newt running around trying to capture animals, go back to England, write the book, publish the book,
I
become
mean,
famous,
but you
whatever.
know what? At the end of the day, there's really not much to not like about this movie. It's well
It's nitpicky.
directed.
It's nitpicky stuff. I don't think it deserves a 76%. I want to say maybe in the low 80s, but I didn't think this movie was great by any stretch of the means. I was entertained. That was about it. You know,
Right.
I didn't love this. I didn't love this movie. Maybe it's something I can fall in love with later, but I liked it. I thought, okay, cool. You know, this universe is back, and I'm happy. But I wasn't like jumping over the moon for it. You know.
I like I said, I got nostalgic with it because I felt like I was in Harry Potter's world, but not with Harry Potter anymore.
Hmm.
So it felt like I missed that feeling. I guess it reminded me of Harry Potter, and some of the characters are interesting. I loved the chemistry between the four main characters:
Hmm.
Newt, Tina, Jacob, and Queenie. Their whole chemistry was really well done.
Yes,
So
I
it was
agree.
kind of fun. I mean, that's what good actors can do. They can kind of save certain plot points and things like that. So anytime those four were on the screen together, it was really good.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so overall, I mean, this is what 70 years before we meet Harry Potter, like before he was born, or
Well, there's no
70
year.
70 years before he hits Hogwarts.
There's no real year. Like, so I'm guessing the when the book is released, that's the year that the movie starts, or I'm sorry, the book starts.
Hmm. So
So
2001. Well, so J.K. Rowling said that I think this is set in 1926, and then by the time the last movie comes out, it's supposed to be the year 1945, which is the very famous year that Grindelwald lost to Dumbledore. So that's where the fifth movie's going to end, or somewhere around there.
is Johnny
Um,
Depp going to be alive by then?
that's what I said. I'm like, dude, he's gonna be like 60 by the time that last movie comes
And he's
out.
supposed to be younger too, right?
Actually, like 62 by the time he. Well, yeah,
Right.
I always thought that Dumbledore and Grindelwald were like in their mid 20s, right around there, and I thought that they might actually add the love story between the two of them, because she has said that they were both, you know, best friends and possibly lovers or whatever.
That would explain why
Where
when he was Colin Farrell, he was kind of doing the altar boy thing, like you were talking about with
Yeah,
Credence. That would explain that part.
exactly, exactly. So good point. So, which is totally fine, but I just don't know. Like, he's gonna be old by the time that shit. I'm gonna be old. I'm gonna be 50 by the time that last movie comes out, and I'm gonna be like going in and watching a fucking Harry Potter movie at 50 years old. They're like, dude, what are you doing here? It's like, well,
Nicholas,
I want to
I
see
wonder if
62-year-old Johnny Depp.
I wonder if we'll still be podcasting then.
Yeah, just do one for the heck of it. Be like, hey, I'm
Right.
50 and I just watched Harry Potter.
Yeah, we haven't done a podcast in like 3 years, but here's another one.
Right. We'll just end with episode 9 and just be like, all right, we're done. We're
Yeah,
done podcasting. Um, Either that or when the server fills up, we can't add anymore. So I
right.
have to start deleting some. All right.
So
So
ratings. Let's do
let's
ratings.
go to our ratings. So I got to say chainsaw. So I'm going to say 4 chainsaws. Um, Again, you know, I like this movie. I didn't love it, but I liked it. Um, and I want to say uh, a soft Jan Brady. I didn't really see a ton of diversity. It was mostly white people, but there was some diversity in it. Especially, I think the was it the it wasn't the Minister of Magic. It was somebody. They call it something different, but she was cool. I can't remember what her name was.
No, me
I didn't have
neither.
it written down here. Well, because it was an actress I'm not familiar with, so I didn't put the top actors on here. But she was good. Zoe Kravitz. We didn't really see anything of her, but I think she's supposed to be Newt's love interest, and that's that she's a Lestrange too, by the way. I
Yeah.
did remember. I recognize the last name. Um, I think I don't know who else. I'm sure there was more diversity, but I can't remember. Again, a lot of them were like background characters. They weren't the main characters, so I can't give it a solid rating. So soft Jan Brady for me.
I'm gonna go four lightsabers, but probably more solid four lightsabers than you. Um,
Okay.
just because I don't know, I feel like you had more nitpicks than I did, and I'm sure if I see it a second time or think about it more, I'll have the same nitpicks or more nitpicks. But for me, it was
It's a bummer.
for me, yeah, for me it was again, it felt fun to be in that world again. That's probably a bad thing if I can't get over the nostalgia of it and not recognize like if it's bad or not. But it's not a terrible movie by far. I'm sure even if I have more
Yeah.
negative things to say about it in the future, I'll still think positively of it. It's probably for me looking at this movie, it's probably on par with um, the first Harry Potter movie. And I know a lot of
Hmm.
people like love the first one, but I had a problem with the first one because the kids kind of in certain scenes just really pull me out of the movie. So I had a hard time like really engulfing myself in the movie when the kids
Yeah,
were
I agree.
acting really bad.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, like the first Sorcerer's Stone, because the acting quality of the kids were probably the worst of the movies for me. Um, even though the first Deathly Hallows movie was kind of boring, but the kids were at that point able to carry things that were boring.
Yes.
So that was that was not that bad, but yeah. So I would say this was probably on equal ground with Sorcerer's Stone for me, which is not bad.
Hmm.
I mean seriously, if again DC would kill for a movie like this. So
Yeah. No kidding. No fooling.
um, and then for diversity, I'm probably gonna have to go with Casper on this one. Even
Okay.
though there was a black actress that played the main headmaster, not headmaster, Christ, the main ministry, the minister basically, or the chief. We'll
Right.
call her chief,
Hmm.
whatever she was. There wasn't a lot in here. I mean, think about the four main characters, right? Think about the bad guy, both bad guys,
Yep.
or three bad guys.
Both. Yeah. That's
Um,
true.
um, let's see. I mean, even
You're all
your
trolls
favorite
don't
character, like
count.
yeah, like Ron Perlman. Even the house elves were white. Um, yeah. So just because they stick with like one black lady actress in here, that's not very diverse. But again, because it's 1926 in New York, you're probably not going to get a lot of diversity anyway. So it's like an
True.
understandable. It's in like an understandable Casper. So
I never thought I'd hear that.
so there's like little new adjectives they're rating our systems.
You're all even the Fantastic Beasts were white. Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, again, it was entertaining for what it was. It is kind of nice to be back in that universe again, and I do look forward to what they're going to be doing next. But that's years off. We've got some really good stuff coming up here really soon that will be fun to concentrate on, and it'll be interesting to see where a lot of our movies that we talked about back in February or whatever January, where they're going to end up on our list ultimately because they are going to be moving around. I guarantee that. And
Oh yeah.
some might bail out of the list completely, and something brand new that hasn't even come out yet probably swoop right in there. So it'll be interesting to see. I It'd be also interesting to see. Like I want to ask you, when it gets closer, but what were your worst movies that you saw this year? I want to know that list. I kind of probably already know what number one is, but that'll be interesting to see that too. But anyway, so we can look forward to more Harry Potter movies or whatever you want to call them. They're in that universe, but for the next
I think they call it the
7
Wizarding. I
years.
think they call it like the Wizarding World now,
Oh, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
or
Oh yeah,
Wizarding
that's
Universe, whatever it's Wizarding Universe.
oh very cool. Yeah, actually that makes a lot of sense. I like that. That's totally fine. I would like to see Hogwarts again. I would like to see Dumbledore, a young Dumbledore, as he's not even the headmaster; he's just a professor
Yep.
there. And I would like to see what that place was like, in the early days. That'd be very, very cool.
It'd be pretty
So,
badass to see a young McGonagall like fighting alongside
oh yeah,
Dumbledore,
absolutely,
because McGonagall
absolutely.
ends up being one of my favorite characters in that whole universe.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see who the headmaster is there, and if we're going to see other wizarding schools or other countries or whatever. If we're going to continue following Newt anyway, which I hope we do. I hope we have at least one more movie with him because I do enjoy his escapades and whatnot, and all the beasts are pretty darn cool. So, anything you'd like to add?
Nope, that's about it.
That's about it. So that was episode 54 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Heck,
Until then, chew on that, folks.
later.